Hello everybody, my name is Michael. You know me as Coding Jungle, and in today's video I want to show you how to go ahead and set up LAMP in Windows 10 in wsl2 so you can start like web development. I'll also be showing you how to use vscode once you're inside WSL so you can access the files in your IDE. Alright, the first thing you want to do is come over here. You want to click on your terminal. It should open up with PowerShell. You might have changed the defaults around, so skip this if you've done that. All right, I'm going to choose my Ubuntu install. I know I've got a couple here, but this is the one I'll be using. Click on it. It will fire up WSL, tell me, give me the greeting message here. Looks like I got an update. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to update our installation here. So we're going to type in sudo apt-update. Going to ask for our password. All right, so it's going to tell us 9 packages can be upgraded. So we're going to type in sudo apt-upgrade. It's going to tell us which ones it needs to update. It looks like fairly reasonable. So we're going to go click yes, or type in Y and hit yes. And it's going to download all the updates for it and update the server. All right, so we're pretty good here. So we're going to go to our home folder, and the way to do that is cd tilde here. As you can see, the home folder is empty. So the next thing we're going to do, we're going to add a repository for our PHP versions, because this repository has multiple versions of PHP. So we're going to type in sudo add-apt-repository, and then we're going to type in ppa semicolon ondrej /php, and then we're going to hit enter. And what this does, all right, a PPA is a personal package archive. I think that's what it stands for. I could be wrong on that. But it allows developers and people who just want to build the applications basically from source code and offer a package, offer them in package form for other Ubuntu users, and that's called a PPA. It's still a repository. It's just the PPAs are ran by, they're stored by Ubuntu basically. So I'm going to add that. So basically what we do when we add this, it's going to tell us the brief description of the PPA. Then it's going to ask us, are we sure we want to add it? And to add it, you're just going to hit enter. It's going to connect to it, add it to the repository, and pull in those the database of all the packages it offers. But if you notice, there are sometimes they'll tell you things you need to know about the repository. Like this one's telling us if we're going to be running Apache 2, go ahead and add the Apache 2 repository that they offer. So it's the same deal. So we type in sudo add-apt-repository, type in ppa colon ondrej Apache 2. I'm probably butchering that person's name. It looks like Andre. It could be wrong. We're going to hit enter. Same thing's going to happen. It's going to pop up, tell us, what the repository is about, and if we want to add it. So we're going to go ahead and add it. All right. So we got the 2 repositories that we're going to be using from here on out. Add it to apt. Now, I took a lot of grief on my last written guide, because I didn't tell people to run the update one more time. Even though when you add a repository, it adds them, it does another update. But let's just to So I don't have to listen to it this time around. We're just going to go ahead and do it. It doesn't take too long. All right. It does say we have 7 packages, so we're going to run the update again, update or upgrade again. Looks like this time it is like it's Apache stuff. All right. Or yeah, stuff that will be used by Apache. All right, so we're done there. All right, so next thing we're going to do, we're going to actually install Apache, MySQL, and PHP. So come back down here, we're going to type in sudo apt install. First thing we're going to install is Apache 2. Next thing we're going to install is mysql-server. All right, you can add multiple packages to install at once on the same command, or you can do them individually. I'm not going to waste your time and type them all out one at a time, but we're just going to install them all on one line. So basically here, I'm installing Apache 2 right now on mysql-server. You can go with MariaDB server if you like. I don't have any preference on either of those. And then the next thing we're going to install is curl, because we're going to install the PHP package. Now, the reason I do this, because for some reason, it doesn't always install curl when you install the PHP package, especially on the server edition of Ubuntu, which this is. So we're going to go ahead and install that. And the next thing we're going to do, we're going to install the PHPs. Now, I got this copied as a line. I'll provide everything I'm typing out here down below in the video like I did in the last video. So basically what we're doing now is we're installing PHP 7.4, the XML extension, the zip extension, the MB string extension, the curl extension, MySQL extension, GD extension, iMagic. Now you don't need both iMagic and GD. I just install them because there are softwares out there that will use one or the other. If the other one's available, it usually uses iMagic, and if it's not, it will use GD. And some of them even have settings where you can use one or the other. And if you want to be thorough in your development and testing, it's good to have both of them installed. All right, so once we get that all typed out, we're ready to install it. And the same as before, we just hit enter. It will show you all the packages it needs to pull in. It will tell you, like this top one here will tell you additional packages. Those are packages that the packages you typed in rely on, basically. And they're their dependencies. And these are all the ones that it's actually going to install. These are the suggested packages. And if you look down here, it'll tell you 0 are going to be upgraded, 86 new installed, 0 to remove, 0 not upgraded. That just gives you an idea how many are being installed and all that. It tells you it needs to grab about 58 megabytes of archive. And after it's all said and done, it will take up additional 351 megabytes of space. All right, that's just, apt will always tell you that when you go to install stuff. So we're going to go ahead and ask us if we want to continue. We say yes. It might take a minute or two depending on the speed of your computer and your download connection. All right. With that done, the one downside to WSL is that it doesn't have an init system. So when it fires up, it doesn't start up anything. It doesn't start up any services or crons, or I shouldn't say crons. And they're not services in Linux. They're called daemons. So it doesn't start up any of those. And that would mean we would have to start them up every time we turned it on. So we'd have to do something like sudo service Apache to start. But I'm going to show you here real fast that open up my trusty Edge here, because I know we all love Edge, don't we? All right, so we're going to type in localhost, make sure it's all working. All right, there it is. That is this instance of Apache running here. All right, so I just wanted to make sure it was running. All right, before we go any further, what we're going to do to get these services, to get Apache, MySQL, and cron to always load when we fire up our instance here, is we're going to add this to our bashrc. So we're going to type in nano period bashrc. All right, this is like a configuration file for bash, and if we go all the way down to the bottom, here we can add stuff. So we're going to type in sudo service Apache 2 start, sudo service MySQL start, sudo service cron start, and just for safe, just for, because usually you're going to your home directory anyway, we're going to tell the last thing to do is to take us to our home directory. Now to save this, you're going to hold down the control key and hit O. That will save it, and to leave it, we can just hit Control X, and that will leave it. So we're going to go ahead and reload this. That's the source.bashrc is telling Linux, telling Bash basically to reload itself. And since we did that, it went ahead and started up Apache. Apache was already started up, so it's not going to restart it up. It's just going to be like, oh, it's already running and not doing anything. That's the only downside to this. If we were to open up another terminal, this will execute in our bashrc, but it shouldn't cause any problems. I've been running it for almost 2 years like that without any issues. All right, so now that we have that, we now have MySQL installed, PHP, and Bash. Now, to configure these, there's a couple ways to do it. The easiest way to go and change files around would be to use Nano, which is a command line editor, and to edit them. So let's go edit our PHP file, our PHP config. So we can type in sudo etc php /7.4 Apache. I'm going to hit the tab. The tab will automatically complete it for me. And I'm going to type in PHP ini. And I should have typed nano in front of that. So it's sudo nano. And I'm going to hit enter. And this is my PHP ini. And we can come in here and we can change anything we want. Any values. But for now, we're just going to leave it its default. So Control X to get out of it. All right, so that's pretty much it. Like I said, we now have the ability to, have our Apache here. There's a couple other things I want to show you. Like I'm going to enable a couple mods here, and that's userdir. And so once we enable userdir, we have to go and tell PHP to allow us to run PHP in our home directory. So what we need to do is type in sudo nano etc Apache 2 mods available, and it will be userdir.conf. Oh, maybe not. Okay, so sudo nano userdir conf. There we go. All right, so this is the first one we want to alter. And what we're going to do here on the allow override, we're going to just tell it to do all. That way we can use HT access and do other things in our directory without having to worry about it. And then the next thing we want to edit is sudo etc apache2 mods available. And that will be PHP 7.4.conf. Oh, I always forget to type the nano in front of it. And the reason we want to go edit this file is because we need to tell PHP to allow us to run in the home directory. And that's what this does here. It detects if it's in the home directory, and if it turns off PHP. Basically what we're doing here is we're telling it not to turn it off, just let PHP execute. All right, so now we've got that saved. We need to restart Apache 2. So what you want to do is type in sudo service Apache 2 restart, and it will restart Apache 2. All right, next thing you want to do is go back to your home directory. So that's cd tilde. And if you don't know what the tilde is, it's the key right above tab on most keyboards. It's on the numerical row next to 1. And you look at it, you'll see like a backtick and the tilde. For other keyboard layouts, it might have something else there, but on, I guess, say American English keyboards, it's right there next to the 1 key. And we hit enter. As you can see, if we do a list of our directory, we don't have anything. So what we want to do is create the public HTML folder. And if you go and look at it, you see it there. Now to access this, we can type in localhost /tilde, and we type in our username, which you'll find right here. That will be your username, the username you created, and we hit enter. Now, as you can see, we get a directory listing of this directory. All right, so let's go into it, cd public HTML, and let's, as you can see, there's nothing there. All right, so let's create a file here real fast. Now, I told you I was going to show you how to use vscode, which is Microsoft's IDE. I air quote that because not quite an IDE, but it will do good for most people. All right, so what we want to do here is we're going to type in code, space, and then a period and hit enter. And what this will do is it will install the VS Code server for your distro here. And it will fire up VS Code. You have to have VS Code. If you don't know, if you don't have it installed, you can just Google it. And it's this right here. There are a few, I mean, since this is an open source project, there are a few, like there is VS Codium, which is the open source. And it's supposed to have telemetry and other things that are, some people would consider maybe a privacy violation or something they don't want to deal with. So they can grab this. And this one's 100% compatible with VS Code plugins. So you don't have to worry about that. All right, let's go back to VS Code. Now, if you look at it over here, you see that it's got your public directory opened up here. So if we were to create a file, let's just call it index.php. Because we've got to make sure PHP is working here. What are you doing? No. I don't know why you did that. This is why I don't like VS Code. Its IntelliSense isn't quite intelligent enough for me. We're just going to put a simple hello world here. All right, and now if we were to come back here and hit refresh, all right, PHP is working here, and VS Code is working. So you're pretty much set. You got the I think that's it. I could be wrong. I don't really type that one that much. Oh, it's like, oh no. Maybe I don't want to echo that. It doesn't like that. What is it? Is it PHP info? Ah, there we go. I just don't use that one enough. The software I use usually has it's already built into it. I don't even. Alright, as you can see, it's it's running now. You can do whatever you want. In the next video, I'll show you how to secure MySQL. Because it's right now it doesn't have a password, and you won't be able to use it without creating a user and a password because of new security changes in MySQL 8, which is what it installed here. Actually, we'll go ahead and do that here. Find the All right, to secure MySQL. So basically what we want to do here is type in sudo MySQL -u, and we type in root and then -p and hit enter. And it'll ask us for our password. So what we want to do first, we want to create a user. And again, I'll provide this down below in the video, the description. All right, so basically what we're doing here is we're creating a user named Michael at localhost, identified by password. And yeah, I know my password isn't all that secure. I didn't want to give you my good password. All right, that's the first step. The next step is we need to grant that user all the privileges on localhost. All right, so it's grant all on *** to Michael at localhost, and that will create the user, give it all of its permissions. The next thing we want to do is flush the privileges, and we're good to go. Now we can just quit. All right, so now we have PHP installed, Apache installed, vscode installed, and we also have MySQL secured with the userdir. Now you might be wondering, because I totally skipped on this, how do you get files over to your installation? Because if you go look at your Windows box here, it won't have a WSL drive. And you might be wondering, how do you do that? All right, so close out your Explorer, go to your terminal here and type in explorer.exe space or period and hit enter. And what this will do, this will open up a special, I guess you can call it a special instance of Explorer that connects to a network location for your WSL2 here. And then you can just drag and drop your files over here. Now this is really slow. So what I usually do is I usually transfer my files here in a tar or a tar.gz or a zip file, and then I extract them out through the command line over here. That way I'm not uploading hundreds of little files and driving myself insane. Because it will take a while. I mean, that's one thing that they're working on, is trying to make this faster. But, it's not as fast as they hoped it to be. Now, you can do this and, in theory, edit your files from, like, Windows app. But the one problem I always run into, it's kind of finicky. It sometimes loses connection. Sometimes it like I said, one of the things is it's slow. It doesn't read file system changes, stuff like that. That's why if you're using another IDE than VS Code, it doesn't really work with wsl2 unless they have something like VS Code already built for it. And I don't know of any other IDE other than VS Code that currently allows this kind of setup. Now, I know in later versions of wsl2 that they do have plans to offer a Wayland server for GUI applications that you can fire right up from the terminal here to open up, so you can use your IDE. Because I'm very partial to PHP Storm, and I would like to use PHP Storm with WSL, and I can't easily do it with WSL2 here. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask me, and I hope you guys have enjoyed this video and found it useful, and I'll see you soon.